Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Welcome in. It's Purple Daily. It is Wreckless Draft Speculation Tuesday with our friend
Wreckless Speculation.
Thor Nystrom from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. During the season, he was part of the Before We Die podcast on Purple Daily. Thor, welcome back, our friend. Our football-loving friend.
Good to be with you. That was an awesome intro, man. The news is coming fast and furious with the Vikings. So I've been so stoked to talk to you guys.
It is. It's been what a week and a half from Eric Kendricks was sort of the starting point of Vikings moves, and Thielen, and we'd love to get your thoughts at some point on just the passing of Bud Grant. So a lot of Vikings fans have their heads sort of spinning the last week and a half. This show, by the way, Purple Daily, presented by our friends at TCL. An official partner of the NFL now. TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. And learn more at TCL.com. Got my TCL TV over here. With Judd, you've got one over there to your left and right. Declan?
Oh, yeah. I'm surrounded by them. It's outstanding.
NFL Network and Shefty. I love watching these morning shows because all of a sudden, like this morning on Get Up, Greeny's trying to corral like 5 different people. All of a sudden, like Graziano will get up. He'll like take a phone call in the middle of the show. Oh my God. At one point, Schefter just like left the screen because he was on the phone, came back and said, the Jets are going to sign Alan Lazard.
That's the new thing now. Like it's become a competition to like pick up your phone. The other thing too is Rappaport was saying this yesterday. If his phone would ring during a segment, he'd pick up the phone, say, I'm on the air. Don't give anyone else the scoop, and put the phone down.
He would say that while he's live on TV?
They said it. He said that he and Garofolo said that no fewer than 5 times, and I couldn't figure out if it was a bit. I think it was serious. Don't give anyone else the scoop, and then he would hang up. And at one point, there was one where it was Garofolo, Pelissero, and Rappaport all on the screen in split boxes like this. Somebody called Garofolo. He said, I'm on the air. I can't talk. Don't give anyone else the scoop. Pelissero made fun of him by picking up his phone to be like, oh, yeah, okay, I got the scoop now. He was joking. Rappaport actually got a call from the guy, I think, picked up the phone and walked off the screen. And there was like this big, pardon my French, pissing match between these two guys for who could get the scoop.
What an amazing life those guys lead. Always on.
Don't know
edge.
how they do it.
Man, Thor, what has been, a bunch of departures, Kendricks, Thielen, Dalvin Tomlinson, they basically just gutting their defense, Cam Dantzler. So of all the departures and of the ads that we've seen, Marcus Davenport and then Josh Oliver, the run blocking tight end. What's your favorite thing the Vikings have done so far?
Well, I like the signing at Davenport. I hadn't seen it coming because I thought initially they would be more aggressive. For instance, with the cornerback hole and whatnot, obviously we saw Patrick Peterson leave, but the way that they delineated their resources coming out the gate, I like Davenport a lot. He's been coming on, whatnot. Like he was a guy coming out that was a little bit raw when he came out of UTSA, but the flashes of him have been absolutely great. The pressure rates are ridiculous. You put his stats up against Rashawn Gary, who the Packers had taken the next year in the first round, they are very favorable. So I think, as a guy that is going to be a 1-for-1 replacement for Za'Darius, a lot of people have already made the note that you're going to save almost the exact same amount of money by moving on from Za'Darius that you have now paid Davenport for 1 year. Then you get him on that 1-year deal. If he blows up, because this guy does appear to be on a precipice. I don't think he is done improving yet. And if he blows up in that, as we know, extremely aggressive Brian Flores defense, then you have some options with him for next year. However you want to do it, but you could put the franchise tag on him, et cetera. Or if he doesn't pan out as is hoped, you can let him go. I also thought the Josh Oliver signing was really interesting because I had been thinking we were going to be moving more into the 3 true wide receivers, but with the amount that they spent on Oliver, and I think it's justified. Oliver has turned himself into a very good player, very good. Like coming out of college, we knew that he was a good receiver. We knew that he was a good athlete, but he's also turned into this versatile piece where he can also now block. So with him there and with Hawkinson there, would seem that that's going to take up 2 spots in the lineup or on most plays. So maybe now you're looking more for the true outside receiver as opposed to the slot.
So also, let's delve deep into what this might mean. I believe it was during the playoffs that we had a conversation about the fact that the Chiefs actually used a lot of, dare I say it, 13 personnel last year. They were actually, they had looks that had 3 tight ends because it creates real problems. I wonder if O'Connell is toying with a 13 look as well. Because Hawkinson's a hybrid, right? So he's not a true tight end, but he is a tight end. This guy can block, but this guy can catch a bit, and I don't think he's really gotten a chance.
He was actually big. He was a big pass catcher in college. But
yes. And in Baltimore, you're not going to get the ball. And Hawkinson obviously will get the ball here. But I wonder if this is trending towards at least deploying 13 personnel packages, especially since we don't know who the number 2 receiver is going to be here. So you could get around that at times by going 13. I'm not saying consistently, but anything that Andy Reid does, if you're a smart offensive mind, is probably worth monitoring and potentially stealing. And that was the first thing that came to mind is I wonder if Kevin O'Connell saw that on film and thought, you know what, there's some real potential there.
1,000%. And he's not the only one, right? Like the smartest offensive minds in the game right now, this is what they're doing. McVay was using the fullback more than most teams these last couple of years. And then you think about the 49ers with Shanahan, where they have all these different versatile guys. And every time the 49ers leave the huddle, you can't predict coming out where McCaffrey's going to line up, where the Juszczyk guy is going to line up, where Kittle's going to line up. It's almost like Debo's going to line up. Ayuk's going to line up. It's almost like shuffling the cards every time they come out of the huddle. And then the defenders, there's all this confusion, even just getting to the line of like, okay, he's there, introduces that. And then the ability to shift guys across before the snap and et cetera. This is how you can create mismatches and how you can create indecision in the defenses. And I agree. I think Oliver is going to be used quite heavily in, obviously immediately.
Man, it's one of those because it's obviously not a guy that's in fantasy rankings. It's not a guy that's gonna. You look at his numbers, you're like, what? He's only caught 20 passes in 4 years or whatever. Why is the limited resources the Vikings have? Why would this be the first sort of big signing? And if you simplify it from kind of like the schematic standpoint that you guys are talking about, and then you also look at the fact that the Vikings running game was putrid last year for large chunks. And it wasn't just because Dalvin Cook is eroding, right? It was they had a hard time opening up holes. Alex Boone did a great job on his, film breakdowns of saying, you guys are like overrating how cooked Dalvin Cook is. Like, look at how often he's getting, mauled before he gets in the line of scrimmage. So Josh Oliver is here, 25 years old, to help with some of that. Is he going to be the focal point of the offense or a star? No, but his cap hit's like $3.5 million. On the Davenport front, and then we'll get to some more like 2023 draft centric discussions here. But Thor, how long? Like, what was the first year you started? Because you are one of the most in-depth draft minds. If you're new to Thor Nystrom, no one is more thorough in their coverage and studying of the NFL draft than Thor. When did you start studying the NFL draft?
Oh, well, when I was a kid, but like, professionally, stacking the, my mom still makes fun of me for like in the basement, I'd be writing like little things on pieces of paper, like doing mock drafts. I actually got caught in high school one time because I had all the draft magazines like under my book in history class, and the teacher caught me.
Wait, so guys like Judd get caught with Playboys under their bed. And
Hustlers in my school books, and you've got like Mel Kiper's latest.
Is that Mel Kiper's? Yeah, that's amazing.
Is that a quarterback in his underwear?
He asked to see me after class, this history teacher, and he said, it's not what you're doing, whatnot. And he said, we have a test on Friday. If you get an A, I'll never bother you about that again. He said, if you don't, we got problems. I scored a 97 on that test, and he was a man of his word.
And look at you now.
Kicking his feet up in class after that, just reading draft magazines. So a long time is the answer. And I ask because you have enough sort of sample size in your career evaluating this. Marcus Davenport, classic example of a guy that measured and tested off the charts. This dude is like an athletic freak, right? He ran a sub 4.6 40, and even like his pass rush win rate and his pressure percentage in the NFL are top 20. The guy had 0.5 sacks last season. 0.5 sacks. So my question to you is, You've seen a million edge rushers, a million players. When a guy tests and measures the way that he did to be a first-round pick a few years ago, and he did have 9 sacks 2 years ago, so in fairness to him, why has the athletic ability and even some of the pressure rates not translated to actual sacks or just sort of a higher, more consistent profile at his position? And how much more room is there for a 26-year-old to fulfill that?
So, a part of the reason why I disagreed with the Saints when on draft his Marcus Davenport's draft year, I believe they had traded a future first round pick to move up to get Marcus Davenport, and he went a little bit earlier than I had him ranked. I did have him ranked as a first rounder, but the reason I disagreed with that was he's got this one superpower, this one special sauce, and that's the speed to power. He's a speed to power freight train is what he is. He gets moving real quick downhill. Obviously, the 40 times and the explosion test, they speak for themselves. And then when he gets there, he's coming with the oomph. On his flash plays, that's where it coalesces, where he's able to get free, and then he just goes and clocks the quarterback. He gets to him so dang quickly, but it's a little bit, it's a little bit usage specific initially, where the thing that I was concerned about, it was that sort of the side to side movement, whatever. I trust a guy like Marcus Davenport in a system with Brian Flores being more of a usage specific edge that maybe, again, we'll see how much he can grow with some of this different stuff. But we always knew he had that special sauce utility of north-south speed to power. And he is a freight train in those scenarios. So that's what I think using him better, I think is going to help out. And I'll say, to your point about only the half a sack, Marcus Davenport's pressure rates the last couple of years were real good. I think that half a sack, I think that's fluky. The pressure rate is the thing that sustains. The sack numbers can sometimes go up, down, depending on just circumstantial things, right? You get to the door, but you don't quite get them down, whatnot. But the pressure rate's something that's a year-over-year thing. The Vikings will find out that Marcus Davenport consistently gets heat on the quarterbacks.
So Thor, there.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, you think that's football? I'm going to ask a question that's going to take it up. That's going to become football porn, and it's this: Marcus Davenport played in a 4-3, if I'm not mistaken, with the Saints. Correct? I believe their base was teams changed this up, but he played a base 4-3. Za'Darius obviously is a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he's a pass rush specialist. I wonder what this says about Brian Flores' plans, though, because now you're going to bookend, I would guess, Danielle Hunter and Marcus Davenport, who are far more traditional 4-3 guys. I wonder because, there's a big difference for a guy who's had his hand in the ground to say stand up. I thought Hunter could do it because he's just so versatile and good. But I wonder what the plan is now, since you're going to go with two guys that are used to having their hand in the ground in a 4-3 as opposed to an outside linebacker in a 3-4.
Absolutely. I happen to think, just because of that skill set that we're talking about, that he is going to be able to handle that transition to 3-4, outside linebacker, edge rusher, better than, maybe initially than a guy like Danielle Hunter. We see Marcus Davenport do that a bit, but now it seems like that's going to be full time. I don't believe the Vikings would try to deploy him as a 3-4 hand in the dirt defensive end. They want bigger guys doing that. But again, Marcus Davenport, the special sauce, it's coming downhill attacking. You don't want him doing the rest of the stuff. If Ed Donatel had this guy, he'd probably drop him into coverage 50 times next year. Luckily, we're not going to get that from Flores. Flores knows this guy is let him off the leash, and he will hound quarterbacks. That's all Marcus Davenport's going to be doing, putting heat in off the edge. And then the straight line speed, we were talking about the athleticism, ran a 4.58 at the NFL Combine at almost 6'6", 264 pounds. His overall RAS score, Marcus Davenport, 96 percentile, almost the 97 percentile. The agility scores, actually, he tested a little bit better in the agility than I had thought with his tape, was 63rd percentile on the shuttle and 71st in the 3-cone. But again, it's because it's like a young pitcher who can throw like 90 miles per hour as a kid, and you never have to develop some of those secondary pitches. He always had that special sauce of the speed to power thing. What I would love to see the Vikings try to do with Marcus Davenport a little bit, because this kid's still young, right? He just got off his rookie deal, et cetera. I think 26 or whatever, is try to develop a couple secondary pitches. If you can even get a sort of a get me over changeup. You don't need a Bugs Bunny changeup here. You just need to get me over changeup or a get me over breaking ball. It's going to keep offensive linemen from sitting back dead red on that speed to power thing, which makes the speed to power thing even more effective. But now also if they're sitting back waiting for that thing, trying to get, the anchor, whatnot, then you can start throwing these other moves at them. I think that's the next step of Marcus Davenport's evolution.
The Bugs Bunny changeup, one of the greatest pitches in baseball history.
Easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get a ball to stop in midair like that is
1, 2, 3, you're out.
quite impressive. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's off to Cleveland to go play a 4-year, $57 million contract, $27.5 million guaranteed. So he's gone. And we kind of went over this on our other episode of Purple Daily today, Thor. And the defensive gutting just continues here. Kendrick's gone, Dantzler, Patrick Peterson, Dalvin Tomlinson. By the time people listen to this, maybe there's resolution on Zadarius Smith, Harrison Smith, Chandon Sullivan, Duke Shelley, both starters gone. So Harrison Phillips is under contract. Tonga is he flashed for a chunk of last season, but it would seem like interior defensive line that can also get pressure on the quarterback should be a priority for the Vikings. Who do you like? Who might be there? Give us guys that could fit that need in the first round, and any sneaky guys that might be available, third, fourth, fifth rounds. Who do you like interior trenches defense?
Yeah, the guy for the first round to potentially keep an eye on would be Brian Brise from Clemson. I don't know if he's going to end up falling back that far, but there is a shot because Brise came in as one of the top recruits the entire nation when he went to Clemson, and he showed off the athleticism, the athletic profile, this draft process. But at Clemson, he was on the field, off the field, on the field, off the field. He was getting nicked up with injuries and different stuff like that. And we saw his ability to put pressure on the quarterback. Didn't see as much consistency against the run. That would probably be the one question that Flores would have. Can you occupy blockers? Because Brise is more of like this stretched out interior defensive lineman, but certainly he has the frame to add additional pounds. And he was used in a specific way by Clemson that, I think they could modify a bit potentially if they ended up liking his game. Outside of that, it's probably something where it's a day 2 thing. One guy that I like that doesn't get a lot of talk is Mazie Smith from Michigan. It seems like he's going to fall back a little bit. Mazie Smith was one of the top Bruce Feldman freak listers in last year. He might have even been the top one. I'd have to look it up. But a very productive interior defensive lineman at Michigan. Minnesota would have to dig in a little bit into this situation where I guess he had a gun on campus, but then the Chargers ended up getting dismissed, as I understand. So the Minnesota would just have to do their due diligence on that. Mazie Smith did not get suspended for this. That was an incident that happened near the end of the season. Michigan obviously felt comfortable enough to keep him on the field. But Mazie Smith, 6'3", 323, and a ridiculous freak athlete at that size. And again, a guy that it seems like he is going to fall into day 2. You'd need a second round pick. He ain't falling to, the 20th pick in the third round or wherever the Vikings are, whatever. But if you trade back, or if they ended up trading up, the second round would be a good spot for him. A couple others that I toss out, the 2 planet-sized sort of, warmonger type, knock the head of the offensive lineman together guys in this class. Siaki Ika from Baylor. He measured in 6'3", 335. So one of the big hog mollies in there. I comp him to Danny Shelton. He didn't test as well. He had 20th percentile RAS, but his game is just grabbing 2 guys and knocking their heads together and letting the linebackers flow behind him. And then the other one, he's a bit of a sleeper, but in the same ilk. Jared Clark from Coastal Carolina. You want to talk about a guy that you can get in day 3 that's going to return value, might be able to play immediately. Jared Clark, 6'3.5", 343 pounds. He measured in at the combine, and his RAS, so it's only the 47th percentile. But his 3-cone and different stuff like that, he tested way better than you see 343 pounders doing it. And you see that on tape with him when you were watching Coastal. For how big he is, he's nimble on his feet. He'd be a very good fit in this system, sort of as a fulcrum point as well. I think those are a couple guys I toss out.
Hey, one name that keeps getting mocked, at least we've seen it 2 or 3 times, mocked to the Vikings, and maybe you touched on him, but just if you could expand on Kalijah Cansey from Pitt.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of in that like late first, that if maybe it's a reach to take him in the first, but you don't have a second round pick. What are your thoughts on him?
I actually think he might end up going before the Vikings, just because of how like he tested like freaky deaky, in terms of like the 40 and the different stuff. I'll have to pull up his Raz card here, but the way he tested and the penetration, it spoke for itself in college. The sacks and the percentage penetration rate. He was so dang quick side to side. He's like, it's like playing Frogger, left and right with the offensive lineman. They're like teeter-tottering or whatever. And then the acceleration is ridiculous. So he gets on you really quick, and then he can move either way. And the moves, his pass rushing repertoire, it just all flowers out of that. He's just so skilled with the movement. The reason I don't see him as much of a fit maybe than some other folks do for the Vikings, number one, I don't know that he gets the Viking spot in the first round. The other thing is he's such a unique player in terms of his dimensions. That's like if Kalijah Kancey was bigger, he would be, he'd be like a top 10 guy or whatever. The only reason that he could fall into the middle first round, or who knows, maybe even the late first round, is because of that size. He measured into the combine 6'1", 281. But again, ran a 4.67, which was dang near 100th percentile. I think it was second or third at that size. But like for me, Kalijah Kancey is a 3 technique guy in a 4-3 system. That's what you want him doing. And then you can allow him to shoot gaps, stuff like that. He's not the guy that's going to occupy. That's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to shed. He wants to get rid of that offensive lineman as quick as possible and then go hunting in the backfield. In the 3-4 system, I don't know that there's as much usage for the kind of player that he is when you're looking for the bigger interior defensive lineman that can do more varied things. Whereas Kalijah Kancey, it's one trick utility, one trick pony, but that trick is real cool, but probably for a 4-3 team.
So you're just talking about like a Jerry Ball, Grady Jackson type of just mammoth human being to clog things up, which is...
Yeah. When we're talking about Siaki Ika, when we're talking about Jared Clark,
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're looking for. What the Pat Williams, that's what we're looking for there. But yeah, Kancey, it's hard to even get an analogous for him. People were comping him to Aaron Donald just because they both went to Pitt, but Kancey's even smaller than Donald, and in terms of the speed, he tested quicker, than Donald, but not the same kind of guy because Donald's country strong. Right, like the strength always at his size always sort of stood out. That's the biggest problem on Kalijah Kancey's evaluation, which is where I think it's a bridge too far with the 3-4.
So Thor, how do you think teams go about assessing guys too now though? Because your base defense is what you start the game with ordinarily, or what you work on training camp in initially. But now 3-4s play 4-3s play, and it's almost I feel like especially on the defensive side for most teams already, I feel like it's becoming like basketball, positionless at times, and the smart teams use guys in different ways. So how do you think the scouting process works now? Because I feel like it used to be very traditional, to your point. If you were trying to find a nose tackle, you just were trying to find a huge human being. That still's good, that still's fine, but there's definitely been a shift of sorts. So how much do you think that's changed the actual scouting process and discussions as teams go about drafting defensive players?
That's very well said, Judd. Yeah, and as we know, Flores, when we saw him specifically as the head coach of the Dolphins, but before then in his time as a coordinator, he's got his base defense, but he does switch into those, multiple fronts, right? So you will see instances every single game where they do have a 4-man front and different stuff like that. And then obviously the schematic things he does are also really interesting, but even the way that they're sort of approaching the line and setting up, you're going to see that varied for sure. So yeah, I mean, your point's well taken as far as that goes. But Kancey, I think in a system like that would be situational specific how he would be used initially. And I think a lot of times it would be in that, when you have the 4 guys down and then it's the pure pass rush sets. So when you're thinking about the Vikings and all these different holes that they have to fill and the limited cap space that they have to do it, and the fact that they only have 5 draft picks total, none in the second round, you have to get really particular and specific about what you're bringing in, what you're using those limited resources on. And for me, I wouldn't want a guy to use the first round pick on a guy where it's situational specific. If it was a different kind of a team with different need, a little bit different scheme, that's where I'd be all in on Kancey, where it's like every single play, Kalijah, you just be you. You shoot those gaps, you do what you do, you get into the backfield. But in the Vikings system, I don't know that would be utilized as much, playing and play out at that specific position, because Flores wants to bring it from everywhere, so it's a little bit more all encompassing his strategy for generating heat on the quarterback.
It's so interesting. I'd be really curious to know, and I'm sure the answer is a lot. How much input has Brian Flores had on the defensive decisions so far, right? Is he looking at this thing, hey, Flores, what do you think about Kendricks? What do you think about, like, the Dantzler thing? Dantzler, it's not like he he saves the Vikings a couple million to the cap, but this is now the second coaching staff, and maybe Flores even said, "Yeah, I'm good too." So make it a third coach too. Dantzler has kind of fallen out of favor with Mike Zimmer and Kevin O'Connell. Obviously, the Vikings decided that they like Patrick Peterson. Peterson wanted to come back. He confirmed on his podcast. He says, "I'd love to go back." And some combination of Kwesi, Flores, and Kevin O'Connell said nope. And then they said nope on the Dalvin Tomlinson price tag. And they might be saying nope on a couple others here too. So I guess my question back to you, Thor, and then we're going to do a mock draft simulation is, what types of players at all levels with the remaining free agency, so cornerbacks, the dollars they have to spend, and then in the draft, what types of young players can we expect a Flores defense to be targeting here with their remaining resources?
Yeah, it was well said, Phil. And to the point about that, I think the thing where you're seeing the manifest of it the most right now, it's in that cornerback room. Peterson wants to come back, but like we talked about, the last couple of months, at Peterson, he can't handle man coverage no more. But what do you got to do in Brian Flores' system when he's sending all the heat, whatnot? Sometimes he's going to leave his cornerbacks back on islands. Yeah. That's something we saw 0 times with Ed Donatel that we're going to see a whole lot next year. The cornerbacks have to be able to handle man coverage assignments one-on-one. And that, I think that explains the Dantzler thing. I was also really surprised when I got that notification, just because we've been talking about all these different names, how you would open up cap room, who you would cut, whatever. Dantzler was never brought up just because he, still on the rookie deal, had a cheap deal, whatnot. You just weren't thinking about him as far as that goes. But when you start to think about it in hindsight, it makes a ton of sense with the switch to Flores, because Cam Dantzler, the scouts, they call him a silo cornerback, where it's like, he can play back in the thing, but then it's just forward. So it's the zone concept in that, specific thing, but he's not the guy who's going to stay with you all across the formation. The way that the Vikings defense had gone to, Cam Dantzler, he's going to get stranded if you leave him one-on-one with some of these receivers with movement in the open field. He's going to get shaken really, really easily. So I think that explains that. And I think Brian Flores' fingerprints are all over these transactions.
You guys want to mock? You guys want to do a little
I want to
mock draft simulation?
I need a cigarette
first. Before we mock here, there's 2 manly things I think that we can put at the top of the show. There's how manly football is, but then there's how manly shaving your footballs is, right? Mm-hmm. And just keeping her nice and groomed, Declan.
Yeah, it's important to keep them nice and groomed down there. And see, even springtime's coming up. Thor, it's time, you want to tame that mane a little bit. The springtime's warming up. We got 50-degree weather, and as much as you love to have the beard, you got to have that beard nice and groomed a little bit. Whether it's hanging out and you got to trim it up, springtime's coming, and you want to enjoy that nice beard there, go check out our friends at Manscaped. You can get the Beard Hedger, which will receive 3 free gifts too, by the way: a beard brush, comb, scissors, that beard balm also on there too. It's not just shaving the face. You need that balm on it. You need that shampoo. You need to take care of that beard. And right now, you can save 20% and free shipping with the promo code PURPLE. The promo code PURPLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off. Free shipping on any item at Manscaped. It's in the link in the YouTube comments section as well. Go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping.
Yeah, don't look like a werewolf, all right? Let's be adults here with our beards. Judd, if the audience is looking to lose weight, I think you and a bunch of other Purple Daily listeners have been great examples through Livia the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, I was going to say, once that beard looks good and you're in fighting shape and set to go out, do you know what's next? You're looking in the mirror, you're like, the winter is taking its toll on my waistline. And I'm going to tell you right now, Livia Weight Control Centers is how you get that weight under control and keep it that way. You're looking at the guy on the left, you're thinking, is that the guy on the right? Because the guy on the right, that is a good look. Look at how that suit fits. Look, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's the same guy. It's me. It's Sports Dad. And what it is it is pre-Livia Weight Control Centers and post. And right now, have I got an offer for you? 8 weeks for free. So you're thinking about, I need to drop the weight. I'm going to tell you right now, the plan is as simple as possible. And again, it's Weight Control Centers. It's not a quick fix diet. So the dietitians there, they're going to help you get the weight down. And then most importantly, they're going to help you keep it off. Again, 8 weeks for free, 855-GO-LIVIA, livia.com, livea.com.
All right, gentlemen, it is time here for our weekly mock draft simulation, the PFF mock draft simulator. don't know about you guys, but I've received a ton of notes the last couple weeks just saying, screw you guys for introducing me to the PFF mock draft simulator. I now do nothing other than just run mock drafts.
I think
all day
work
long.
production of our viewers has taken its toll, don't you?
Yes, I think it has. So, all right, here's my question to you guys. So I think just to change it up here, you can see the settings on the YouTube channel. These are the default settings here. I think I'm going to change this just to make it play out a little bit differently. You can lean into, do you want the simulation to lean more like what the public would do versus the PFF board? I'm going to lean heavier into public here. And I'm going to crank up randomness a little bit. Because the draft, we always have an idea, right, Thor, of how there's going to be 4 quarterbacks in the first 7 picks and then this, right? But it's always crazy. Yes. Something always happens. So are you guys cool with me ratcheting up the randomness by 1 tick here in the settings?
Let's do it. I like it.
We'll do a 5-round mock. We are the Vikings. We're going to start it off slow. No trades of players yet, because at this point they haven't acquired any additional draft capital. So we'll do a 5-round mock. Let's look for opportunities. Thor, if you see an opportunity, if a guy is falling down the board, and we should trade up, you let us know. Otherwise, we're just going to this will be no set parameters on trades. We'll just go with the flow here, all right?
Let's do it.
So the Carolina Panthers are now on the clock with the number 1 pick. We will start the draft and see what happens here. We'll speed this up as we go along. Let's just see the first few picks play out. So Bryce Young goes number 1 to the Carolina Panthers. C.J. Stroud goes number 2 to the Texans.
I think that's going to be flipped at the end of the day.
Is it because Frank Reich likes taller quarterbacks, or what's your logic there?
Yeah, I think so. I also heard that the owner likes Levis a little bit, so he might not be. You can't totally discount that as well, but I think it'd be Stroud.
And by the way, the 4 quarterbacks have gone off the board. I just paused it at the 8th pick here. So, and the Falcons might kind of sense that this is happening because the Falcons just signed Taylor Heineke to a 2-year deal. They also have Desmond Ridder, so they might be looking at this saying, it's probably not our year we're not going to pay to get up to the 3 spot. So you got Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., Will Levis. You say Levis. I've heard Levis.
Yeah, it's one that you can go either way.
Maybe we can come up with a third way to pronounce it. Jalen Carter, Devin Witherspoon, the first corner off the board of the Lions, and then Anthony Richardson to the Raiders. So I'm going to ask you, as our GM here, we're just your minion scouts. Is there any reason at this point, now that those 4 quarterbacks are off the board, should we be looking to trade up at all as the board falls to us?
Not quite yet. It would be too cost prohibitive to get up to 8. So I think we got to wait just a little bit and see what happens. But it's gone close to chalk so far as like those first 7 guys. Hey,
Thor, does Richardson get to 7, in your opinion?
I think at the end of the day, you're going to see a trade, probably Raiders and Cardinals, but it could be, who knows, a different team, but that a different team trades to 3. I think you're going to get quarterback 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo. Teams are desperate, man. I mean, look at the Panthers. The Panthers basically just said, I'm going to pause it here at 17 so we can make a decision. The Panthers basically said, here's all of this draft capital and one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL. And we're going to spend the next 30 days figuring out who we're going to draft at number 1 or if we're going to trade back, right? They don't even know. There's not like a surefire Andrew Luck at the top of this board.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got a little not a receiver run, but Quentin Johnston comes off the board here at 14 to the Patriots. We've got several corners off the board now, Thor. So we've got Witherspoon is gone. Christian Gonzalez is gone. Joey Porter Jr. is gone. And then the edge rusher run as well with Miles Murphy, Tyree Wilson, Lucas Van Ness, and then Michael Mayer, the tight end to Washington. So we are, 5 or 6 picks away. Anything that we should make a phone call on here to the Steelers, or should we just let it keep going?
I'm still standing pat, and the reason why is there's still 3 of the receivers that we like on the board. Almost assuredly, one is going to fall to us. That's Addison, probably where we're going to be leaning towards.
Addison to the there we go. There's the run.
No. Oh, no. Way to go, Thor. Way to jinx it.
Wait, right when I said that, the next 2 picks are receivers. Dang it. Now we've been put to a decision because, we still love Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers we need to get down. It doesn't look like Tampa going to take the one team we'd have to be afraid of here is the Chargers.
Okay, Deonte Banks off the board. So we could call the Seahawks or we could let it ride. So there's 3 teams in front of us here. Your call, GM.
What would, can you do the thing where you see that you do the 20th and you do the 23rd and then see what they're going to want from us? We'll see what we got to give up.
We'll see if it's the
because we got to toss in
the 119.
Yeah, see what it says.
Oh, they would do it if we. That's
What about the 159? Let's try to lowball them a little bit. Ooh, what about 176?
throw both in, or throw
just the one and see what it.
That's 63%. All right, let's see. Let's see what happens.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're gonna offer a trade to move up with the Seahawks here. We're giving up. This would be a 5th round pick.
Because both the Chargers and the Ravens could take a receiver. We're down to the maybe give them 159 instead.
Okay, GM, let's offer this one, the 159. They've rejected both of these advances.
How are they going to keep rejecting our trades?
This might be a sign that we should just let them draft and see what happens.
Let's do it. Let's just see what happens.
Roll the dice here.
Drop Zay, drop Zay, drop.
Ooh, Nolan Smith to the Seahawks. All right, Chargers on the clock.
See, this would be a scary scenario for the Vikings in April because the 3 receivers already off. Obviously, I want one of those 4 guys. And now the 2 teams in front of you, there's a shot that they take the receiver. So the Vikings might be sweating bullets in this scenario. Certainly, if the Chargers were going to take one, they're not going to trade back with the Vikings 2 spots and let the Vikings preempt them. So that would be sort of that. I think we just have to sit here and see how it plays out now because I don't think the Chargers would actually trade this.
All right, so 21 Chargers take Broderick Jones, the tackle from Georgia. Ravens take Dalton Kincaid, a tight end.
Yeah, so we're going. Oh, Brise is still there too. I didn't even know that. So this would be between Brise and Zay Flowers. I mean, that's the choice. It's
interior defensive lineman. So do you want your vegetables or do you want your sizzle?
You boys know I always go with the sizzle, but we have gone receiver in the past.
You go sizzle. You go sizzle, baby.
In this one, though, we could go Brise because he hasn't gotten to us many times in these scenarios. I'll leave it up to you guys what we do here.
All right, Declan, sizzle or vegetables?
Vegetables.
Wow,
vegetables.
This is well-disciplined adult.
Vegetables.
Boo.
All right, Judd, vegetables or sizzle?
Oh, I'm going sizzle on this one. Kevin O'Connell's hugging me right now. We're drinking Dom Perignon across the street at the Vikings Lake Hotel. Right in the suite up there. We're on top of the world.
All right. I know that the answer, the correct answer should be vegetables, but damn it, I want the sizzle. We're drafting Zay Flowers with the 23rd overall pick.
Love it. Well, we got Zay. Right. We got our boy.
So we're going to speed this up here. You're going to see these fly through. Our next pick is 87. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to 87 because we don't get to look at all the players on the board till we get to 87. So there will be no trading up here. We're just going to get your thoughts on what's available here as we are on the clock with the 87th overall pick. Interesting. Tanner McKee is still on the board here. Stanford quarterback.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you would have to think. I do like Tanner McKee. I'm going to rank him a little bit above this slot. I don't rank him as high. PFF has him as a 1st rounder. They really like him. I have him more as a late 2nd, early 3rd, but at this point, that would be fine value. The interior offensive lineman, I don't know if the Vikings
some centers here.
Yeah, look in that direction. Obviously, they wouldn't take Tank Dell after they had taken in the 1st round, taken Zay Flowers. The interior defensive linemen, do we have any of those guys or cornerbacks? I'd like to take a look at our options at those positions.
Yes, I will give you. I'll show you the best cornerbacks available here, so you can take a gander.
Okay, we don't want Hodges Tomlinson. He's too small. He's stuck in the slot, but I don't even know if he can be a standout there at his size and his athleticism. Kai Blue Kelly, I think he would be a guy that they would have to think about. Kai Blue Kelly had a lot of snaps in college as an outside press man cover corner. And I think he's going to go here a little bit before. PFF's a little bit lower on him than I am, but he's an impressive player. His dad played in the NFL for a super long time. You guys know how much they love bloodlines.
Oh, bloodlines.
Let's check out the other 2 I want to see is linebacker, and I want to see interior defensive line. Their linebackers will fall down a bit, and there's 3 or 4 that could come in and I think push Mr. Hicks and his restructured contract out of the lineup real quick. All right, let's go down a little bit and see who we got with
Moro Ojomo from a bunch of Texas guys here.
Yeah, we don't want him. He's kind of a tweener. Pickens, maybe, but like he could be in the 4th round. There's nothing here that I'm too interested in. Let's go. Let's see the linebacker.
Okay. I love the way Thor is taking control here of the war room. This is great. All right, here's your linebackers. Dorian Williams, Ivan Pace Jr.
Pace, yeah. So Pace would be interesting too. Dorian Williams would be as well. We taken him in past ones. I was just trying to see if somehow a Jack Campbell had fallen down or a Drew Sanders from Arkansas, but it doesn't look like one of those top guys had gotten down.
So back to best player here.
Yeah, we'll do that. Maybe we go. Kai Blue Kelly here is the guy who has piqued my interest the most of what we've seen. We didn't go the corner in round one, but like I said, the ethos, you're clearly seeing it with what the Vikings and Flores are doing. It's getting rid of the guys that cannot hang in man-to-man coverage. And you're going to see now the acquisition of guys. We haven't seen any signed yet. I think Kai Blue Kelly fits that like a glove. Was a very good cover corner, outside press man at Stanford.
All right, Kai Blue Kelly is the pick here at 87. Our GM Thor. All right, we've got 3 picks left, and we are up on the clock here momentarily with the 119th pick right now.
Okay, the running backs too are going to become interesting. Obviously there's a lot of talk with Cook. Obviously Madison is a free agent. But yeah, let's just see the running backs that are on the board right now. I don't like Chase Brown. Deuce Vaughn's a little small. Dwayne McBride's an awesome first 2-down grinder. You're going to need a pass catching back with him. It'd be fun to take him like a guy like that in the 4th round, whatever. And then in the 7th round, you can always get an airback that can catch. So he's one of those guys that will fit really good in the 2-man platoon. Eric Gray's another guy I think is a little bit underrated. His game sort of sneaks up on him, but he's super duper well-rounded. Keaton Mitchell's just the straight line sprinter, but a little bit small, but I like his game as well. Go down just a little bit, Phil. Yeah, for right now, I think I might lean Evan Pace from Cincinnati.
Okay, so linebacker Pace here. Okay.
And he's very, very, very athletic. And I think he would be a good fit for Flores' system.
All right, we just drafted an athletic linebacker in
Imagine
the 4th
that.
round.
That's an oxymoron around the 2022 Vikings. Athletic
and now,
linebacker.
Here's our 5th round pick here. Wow, dude, your guy Dwayne McBride, that running back you've mentioned a couple times, is still on the board here.
Oh man, it's gonna be hard not to take Dwayne McBride.
Scoop him up.
Well, let's just go down just a little bit and see.
Oh, he can't help himself.
Yeah, no, I just.
And we still need some meat and potatoes on the defensive line, right?
We do. That's the one thing but Ojomo, some of these guys at the top, Kobe Turner, I don't even know that he got the invite to the combine. So a couple of those guys I'm not super interested in here. Jared Clark, if Jared Clark is still available, he's the one interior defensive lineman around this range that I think.
Oh, there you go. Fit. There you go. Coastal Carolina. He's right here.
There you go. Let's pop Clark because he's one of the best, second best nose tackle in this class. But I think he's closer to Siaki Ika than people give him credit for.
And then our final pick here, 176, the last comp pick of the 5th round. And your guy Dwayne McBride is still sitting on the board. We got to take him, right?
Yeah,
we got to take.
We're taking the running back.
We got to do it.
All right, we'll see if PFF loves or hates our draft here on the screen. They're giving us an A- for the draft.
A-.
Oh, that's way better than last time, Thor. You got like a C last time.
A+ for McBride.
Way to
I
go.
always just try to improve 1% each day, Judd. That's it.
It's impressive.
Amazing. So we got Zay Flowers in the 1st round, Kai Blue, and we went loaded up on defense, cornerback, linebacker, defensive interior, and then Dwayne McBride, an established collegiate running back there, with our guy Thor Nystrom from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Great stuff, dude. Man, just what a week to be a football fan and a Vikings fan, huh?
It's a great time of the year. Even though we don't get football on Sundays, this roster construction stuff
it's
is
more
something
fun.
that really gets the juices
It's better
going.
than a ton of games, Thor.
It sure is. Yeah,
There's a lot of
It's
games
fun
that
to talk
aren't as
about.
good as the last couple of days.
1,000%. We're only going to see more and more of it, and it's going to get really interesting with these draft prospects, how they can plug the specific holes that end up being left after the free agency process.
You can follow Thor on Twitter at ThorKU, just at ThorKU, and you can find him every Tuesday here from now through the next several weeks at least, talking draft, breaking down prospects and whatnot. Appreciate it, Thor. We'll do. We're going to get some beers here sometime soon. Now that I'm in town, we'll schedule something up.
I'm in and can't wait. Appreciate
Awesome,
it,
man.
boys.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Purple Daily here. Reckless draft speculation every Tuesday. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. We'll see you later.